Nickelodeon's had a tough few years, as Brian Robbins took control and burnt off everything we loved. But from the looks of their 2020 upfront, it seems like Nick's coming back with a vengeance. Let's talk about how. Last week, Nick held its annual Upfront presentation, where the network shows off its latest creations, current and upcoming, to advertisers. This year's event is Brian's second rodeo at the reins of Nick. His first year in 2019 brought us the completion of a few old promises and a slew of spin-offs and unscripted fare, which served as a desperate attempt to plug the gaping holes in the network's scripted output that Brian Robbins was simultaneously creating, by shafting basically every currently running series, save the channel's darlings of course, off to somewhere that wasn't the main channel. 2019 was a tough year for Nick, and it built on issues which began to show themselves in 2018. But it looks like they want to come back swinging in 2020, which, if it works, would save them from the more damaging forms of channel rot we've seen play out elsewhere in the kids' TV space. Before I get to the all-new things Nick will have up their sleeves this year, let's get some current series business out of the way. The Casa Grandes has been renewed for a second season, because of course it has, despite being basically just a Loud House clone in both concept and, unfortunately, in performance. All that, the reboot of the sketch comedy series Brian Robbins once worked on, has been given 10 more episodes, taking this 11th season to 36 in total. I have no complaints about that. It's a good show, and I'm happy Nick believes in it, even if it likely is just an executive pet project. More unusually, the miniseries reboot of Are You Afraid of the Dark and the holiday competition Top Elf have both been renewed for second seasons. I don't even know why they bothered to make Top Elf in the first place, and I will probably skip on it this December as I have last. The Are You Afraid of the Dark continuation puzzles me for different reasons. The way they structured Season 1 of the miniseries makes it tough for them to justify doing it again a second time. Even with a new story spanning the episodes, they'll probably struggle putting in enough new twists and turns to make Season 2 feel like more than just a needless retread of the beats of Season 1. And in surprising news, The Crystal Maze has also been renewed for a second season, which I am honestly very happy for. This franchise, this concept, this country, all deserve it. With the renewals out of the way, let's see what new series and cartoons Nick's production factory has cooked up for our enjoyment in 2020. The most contentious new Nick series, at least in the more animation-oriented kids' TV circles, is Kamp Koral, now officially titled Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years. The show will be done in CGI and tell the tale of a 10-year-old version of everyone's favorite sponge at summer camp. The 13-episode season will be coming this July, bringing a questionable end to SpongeBob's best year ever, the 20th anniversary celebrations they started last summer. Everyone and their voice actors coming over from the original series, plus there will be 2 new characters for us to collectively scrutinize. Destruction of prior canon aside, I think the existence of this show, when it actually arrives, is only going to rankle SpongeBob diehards, of which I'd argue there aren't a huge amount of these days. It certainly has big shoes to fill though, being the spin-off of a cultural, and network, icon, so anything less than a stunner is probably going to come off as a devastating failure, which likely won't do the show itself any favors. For the past 6 years, Henry Danger has been Nickelodeon's main live-action stalwart. It has endured through a cycle and a half of unimaginable changes and remains the last stand of the now-fallen Schneider's Bakery empire which birthed it. Starting on February 29th, the show takes its final bow, with a massive 4-episode finale plot that looks like it will seriously shake things up and give this long-running hit the conclusion it rightfully deserves. In just a few weeks, we'll be experiencing the end of an era. And then Nick decided to create a spin-off. Danger Force is Nick's second attempt to craft a franchise out of their biggest sitcom in years. The first attempt was The Adventures of Kid Danger 2 years ago, which was well-meaning but didn't get too far. The new show follows Ray, aka our indestructible hero Captain Man, and resident genius tinkerer Schwoz as they train 4 new students at the Swellview Academy for the Gifted, which sounds reminiscent of X-Men. Basically, it's Lab Rats Bionic Island / Lab Rats Elite Force, the next generation. The spin-off premieres March 28th, which, assuming they don't bundle any of these last 4 episodes into an hour-long event, is the week immediately after the series finale of Henry Danger, which makes all the things they're setting up right now through the promos very anticlimactic. The creation of Danger Force is also an indirect extension of the long-running legacy of Schneider's Bakery, a crutch that is growing pretty long in the tooth at this point. Dan left almost 2 years ago now, and Nick hasn't had a new hit without him since. Even if Danger Force is a multi-season smash hit, I'd like to believe it will be, if only to avenge the fate of the analogy I made earlier, as they should already know, one sitcom does not a network lineup make. And that is where young Dylan comes in, both the star and the new show. Premiering February 29th, Tyler Perry's Young Dylan, as the show is formally called, is both a sitcom vehicle for the 10-year-old rapper and yet another of seemingly umpteen vehicles for the multi-hyphenate producer, who's currently finishing up the first year of a new-ish TV deal with Viacom CBS that runs through 2024 and has already begot 4 series and a holiday special for BET and a joint venture streaming service. Because Tyler Perry is to things behind the camera what Nick Cannon is to things in front of the camera. Like Pitbull, he endures. The actual show is about how a suburban family's life is turned upside down when their nephew, an aspiring hip-hop star played by young Dylan, moves in by surprise. The fact that the premise is so simple and blatantly imitative of life shows just how much of a cobbled-together star vehicle this show is for everyone involved. However, that doesn't inherently make this show bad, and Nick still doesn't have anything else up its sleeve right now, so they'll take whatever they can get. Well, they also have The Astronauts, formerly Untitled Space Show. Arriving in the summer, this 10-episode mini-series follows a group of kids who get mistakenly launched into space. Brian Robbins claims it's, quote, one of the most ambitious and cinematic stories Nickelodeon has ever told, and those are certainly some big words to live up to. Jonathan Frakes is one of the directors on this, so maybe if this isn't so swell, he can tell Brian how he's wrong for an hour.
Not this time. Wrong. Not this time. Not this time. You're wrong. Not this time.
Announced while I was writing this script, Nick will also be making Side Hustle, a 13-episode buddy comedy coming later this year about 2 best friends who have to act fast and build a business to pay for the damages they inadvertently caused to their neighbor's dad's police car. The business ultimately takes the form of an app where the kids hire themselves out for all sorts of odd jobs and weird gigs. Honestly, it sounds like a premise that doesn't need a whole 13 episodes to dawdle, but clearly it seems like the execution of the middle part of this show, the mystery meat to this sandwich that was left off this premise plate, will make or break this show's story overall. Nick's animation side needs a few good wins to get back on track, and they would have had them if they didn't squander them off to every platform imaginable. But they've still got some surprises for themselves, as they've announced they'll be making an anime adaptation of Lincoln Pierce's long-running book series Big Nate. I don't have the full context here, as when I was younger my eyes were firmly affixed to the diary of one Greg Heffley, but the show will center around the eponymous 6th grader and his friends that many have come to know and love over the years, as hijinks ensue that will likely end badly, one way or another. This is one I think I'll have to see to be sold on, given I lack the context and long-standing connection to this series that would have me immediately excited for this show. Hijinks ensue series haven't failed me at all as of late though, so I look towards this show with optimism. Perhaps the weirdest news to come out of Nick's 2020 upfront is the announcement of a live-action holiday movie based on the ridiculously popular cartoon and current Nick second fiddle, The Loud House. Subtitled A Very Loud Christmas, because of course it is, the movie tells the tale of Lincoln and his buddy Clyde sabotaging the pre-existing other plans of his 10 sisters so they can all spend the holidays together. This is not new territory for Nick, as they've given this exact same treatment before to their previous second fiddle series, multiple times. Honestly, they might as well just rehire Jake Bell and have him play Lincoln, even though it would break the entire dynamic, but that's not new either. I fully expect this to be mediocre fodder for diehard fans, like the Casa Grandes is, and just as its spiritual predecessors were. There's not really much more to say about this beyond that it's very obviously Nick milking their cash cow for all it's worth as usual. It is at the same time unexpected, but not very notable. While Nick's already got quite a full slate of shows on its hands, there are a few things we haven't gotten any new word about. The Untitled Simon Fuller Ryan Tedder project announced at last year's upfronts. For one, a scripted series set at a performing arts boarding high school and featuring original music every episode. No, nothing points to it being a victorious rehash. There's also Meet the Voxels, which is reportedly being made with a game engine and follows a family of video game characters. The story on this first broke in mid-2018, so assuming a typical production timeline, and that the technical details have gone without a hitch, we should be getting this product any day now, unless they need to pencil in something to shaft to Netflix for early next year. And speaking of things that should be ready by now, the Rugrats reboot. Also first-hand about a year and a half ago now, though now divorced from a hybrid live-action CGI feature film set for 2021. There's also nothing new to report about Adventures in Wonder Park, the companion series to last year's mediocre flop of a movie, Wonder Park, which has been said to be arriving this year. honestly, I don't know why they're still going through with that, given how lukewarmly at best the movie was received. I guess they're too deep in the hole to turn back now. Nickelodeon is truly trying again in 2020, and that's a welcome sight to see, after the nightmare that has been the network's programming over the past 2 years. Brian Robbins has a lot of making up to do over the bad taste his handling of the networks left in my mouth and likely others, and this is a good first step. There's still the question as to if they can make a success in the technically post-Schneider age. They are currently 0 for 2 on that, and as to how much they'll care for cartoons that aren't their first and second fiddle. But the generous slate that's been put out here the rest of this year and into next year gives me reason for confidence about them, which I haven't had for a while. At this upfront, Nick is clearly moving forward, albeit with a serious set of training wheels attached. If you want a little more context as to how Nick's been doing, check out my recap of how they fared last year, which is right here or down in the description. And if you liked this, remember to subscribe so you can explore more from the world of television every single week. I'm Benzie Johnson Jr., I'm enthusiastic about television, and I'll see you next time.